And what's the situation in Jets world? The situation is bleak. Let me start by saying this in case I haven't made it very clear. Okay? We as YouTube content providers, as Jets fans, right? We're fans. So you try to find hope and you try to be optimistic. And when this rebuild started, when the Jets hired JD, traded out Jamal Adams, I understand that there was some, there's always doubt in everything, this organization. There's always going to be people who like the moves and people who didn't like the moves. Now, some of the moves were, good moves, bad moves. Sometimes you have to look at the moves at the moment the move is made, right? And sometimes the results don't really matter or devalue anybody's opinion. Like the Jamal Adams move brought in Garrett Wilson. So Jamal Adams was an unhappy guy. It would have been done nothing good for us if we would have signed him for, 17 million, 16 million, whatever it was for a 3-year contract. It wouldn't have done anything good for us, right? It wasn't going to make any difference. Instead, we got Garrett Wilson, we got AVT. AVT, I mean, he's been unhealthy, but can you criticize a GM? I don't know. AVT was never hurt in college. And I feel like some of this fan base, and I'm not defending JD here, by the way. I'm not here to sit there and say JD hasn't been fired. I'm just trying to speak facts. Like, you can't blame JD for AVT, and if you do, you're stupid. And I'm not trying to be, that guy just calls people stupid, and he thinks, look, there's opinions, and there's rationale, being rational, and then there's being stupid. If the guy had an injury situation throughout his entire collegiate career, then I could understand, well, you drafted AVT, you took the risk, you drafted a guy who was injury prone. AVT was not injury prone. Now, was it the perfect pick? Well, in hindsight, no. But you could go through any team, open up any team's draft history, and with hindsight, decide if every pick was a perfect pick. Was it a perfect trade? But it worked. He picked a great player. Or a really good player. He hasn't been the same since the Achilles. Maybe he'll get back to what he was. Maybe he won't. I don't know. He's solid enough. We're probably not going to bring him back after his 5th year. I don't know that for sure because he might not even cost that much. We'll see. But I would like him to be back because even if he's just average or above average, he's not a superstar. He still fills a role, and it gives us continuity because then we could have Titman, AVT. If we don't extend Simpson, I don't know if I could be a fan of this team anymore. Like, if he just plays next year and leaves, I might be gone because you struck gold. Now you have to capitalize on it. And Fashanu looks fine. He's had one game at his starting position. One game! And bullshit penalty. His PF grade would have been much higher. He had a bullshit penalty. It was a soft penalty. It was a ridiculous penalty. And he allowed a sack where A-Rod didn't get rid of the ball for like 4 to 5 seconds. It was outrageous. The good news is about Fashanu is he's actually run blocking really well. He's actually grading high as a run blocker, and this was a worry. This was a concern. The pass blocking we know was good coming out of college. It was elite. I have no question. I look at Andrew Thomas. I look at offensive linemen all over the league. It's a position, especially left tackle, where it's very common for them to need a year in the NFL, a year of conditioning, training, the locker room, the professionals, to build up strength, to get used to the speed of the NFL. It's totally normal. And he's not a fiasco. He's not like the guy for the Giants, Neal or whatever, who's just giving up 5 sacks a game. He had the one bad holding call. He had the one allowed sack where it was Rodgers should have gotten rid of the ball. You could look at it all 22. There were 2 guys wide open during that play. One during his initial route, I believe it was Garrett, and then a check down was alone. And I don't know, Rodgers didn't want to give. And it was in the first half where he just seemed to be doing it all off. He had a horrible half. He just wasn't functional. So, and I'm not here to dump on Rodgers. I'm just being realistic. You can't watch the first half of that game until the final 2 minutes of the half and make any argument that Rodgers played well. Right? Again, it's these. Not everything is debatable. These aren't things that can be argued or debated. It was a terrible first half for him, and that sack was on him. I mean, it really was. There were guys open. He didn't find them, whatever it was. It really wasn't on Olu. Anyway, getting back to the point, I think if we were to bring back AVT, we could have four-fifths of our offensive line secure for the future. If we extend Simpson, I mean, we have the opportunity to get some continuity and at least give the new regime something to build around. Like, you don't, not everything's broken. You actually have a real young offensive line that could actually become something good someday. I'm from Kazakhstan. Oh, how you doing? What do you think about soccer? I like soccer, but I don't know. What's up, Wild Wave? What's up, Nick? So look, this is how I feel about it. I understand that JD had to go. I'm not sitting here screaming at the top of the hill he shouldn't have had to go. I will say this, though. Good luck finding a better replacement, because we haven't found that many people in our history better than JD. So that's a problem. And it could be that the bar is not that high. That could be the same thing with quarterback, right? People are saying Aaron Rodgers is having the best year of any quarterback since Joe Namath. He's going to throw for 3,700 yards and 26 touchdowns and 10 interceptions. All right, fine. Very low bar. Very low bar. We didn't even like Derek Carr. Derek Carr only throws for 4,000 plus yards every year, but we didn't like him, right? So, I mean, suddenly we're going to sit there and defend 3,700 yards, 25 touchdowns, 10 interceptions like it's gold. I mean, it's good for our history, but it's not what we thought we were getting. So let's go back to JD. Are we going to get better than him? And the thing is, we could pay people. We could overpay. We can get the best candidate. I agree. I know everybody says who's going to want to come here, but the reality is money talks and bullshit walks. And if you have an assistant GM that's looking like one of the hot prospects and you overpay the fuck out of him and give him an extra 2 years more than any other team, then you can get the guy that you really want. Because let's face it, Woody's a billionaire. He could lose money. It doesn't matter if it doesn't work out, because it doesn't matter. Money does not, it shouldn't matter. It matters to him, but it really, I mean, maybe it matters to him, I don't know, but it doesn't have to. We don't have a situation where we have an owner that might go bankrupt or lose money or be in trouble if he overpays a GM and he overpays a coach. So yes, we could overcome that. But the reality is that we haven't. Like, we haven't had a great GM. And I don't want to overplay JD, because, you know, like, I could name all the good things he did. But then again, if you gave me and Nick Shine that many picks, we'd have some hits too. Me and Nick may have picked Sauce. Maybe we would have picked Thibodeau. I don't know. You give us the number 10 pick, I think we both would have taken Garrett Wilson also. He made a great move by trading up, but we don't know that he didn't. He was on the phone trying to trade up. I don't know that any GM, and GMs aren't on the phone all the time, and that was an impossible thing to do. He pulled off a great draft that year. There's no argument that was a great first round. It was one of the highlight of the last 4 years for us. No argument. He had some good hits with free agents, and he had some bad hits with free agents. I'm sure a lot of other GMs did. Where he missed on quarterback. We all know that, but even that's forgivable. You get a second chance at a quarterback, and that's a forgivable thing, but he missed on coach, and he held on to the coach, even in that fourth year, and I agreed with the arguments of that coach. That coach never had a quarterback. Saleh never had a quarterback, but there were other problems. We were the most penalized team in the freaking world, so there were other problems. There was locker room problems where there's smoke, there's fire. It can't be every year that there were just rumors being made up by the sports beat. Like, there was some shit going on in the locker room. That we saw personnel issues. We still see personnel issues. This guy Hector got 19 reps, and LT3 got like 11 reps. And Hector was on the bottom of the PF grades, and LT3 was on the top, number one defensive player. How is this nobody named Hector getting reps more than LT3? How is LT3, in a season that's went to shit anyway, not the primary guy next to Quinnen? Like, how is that even possible? How could they be that bad at determining personnel? Like, how could it be that bad? Why were we 3 to 4 weeks ahead of our team, of our management, on knowing that Olu should have been started at left tackle? And they should have gotten the freaking Smith out of there, the antique who's fallen off of a cliff. Like, what are the answers to these questions? We as a fan base knew, they didn't. So there were mistakes. And JD has to take ownership of all those mistakes, right? Not all of them, though. I say he missed on quarterback with Zach Wilson. I don't say he missed on Rodgers. Why? Because I don't think he wanted Rodgers. I think he wanted Derek Carr. I don't know that for sure. But that's the thing. It's hard to even fully evaluate JD because Woody keeps sticking his... There's an article out now. I don't know if it's been shared with everybody. There's this long article about all the shit that went on. And it turns out that Woody was interfering like crazy. Right? Not only is that bad for how we're going to find someone else without overpaying the hell out of them, but it's also concerning because that means that every time a GM comes in, we have to worry that Woody's going to get impatient and fuck it up. We had a good rebuild going. We missed on quarterback. I get it. But other than that, things felt like they were going the right direction. It felt like, anytime Zach Wilson wasn't the quarterback, we looked really good. Mike White, we beat Cincinnati. Like, we looked really good. And I don't even want to beat up on Zach. It's not what the video is about. Let him become a great quarterback someday. I don't care. It's not about that. It's been 6 years, and JD did have to go. I understand that he had to go. Like, I can't fight it anymore. Did he have to go now? Could he have went at the last day of the season? Did it make sense to let him go now? Did it make sense to fire Robert Saleh when they were 2-3? I understood firing Robert Saleh. Do it before the season starts if you weren't committed to him. But you can't say after 2-3, I've seen enough, especially when they should have been 4-1. And it was a field goal kicker. If Zerline was anything like he was the last 2 years before this season, we were 4-1. Worst case scenario, we were 3-2. We were playing for first place in the division. So the timing, I understand why Robert Saleh got fired. I'm not going to stand on a hill and say Robert Saleh's a great coach, but I will question the timing of it. How is that going to help our season? He thought he was going to save the season by firing Saleh and just promoting the defensive coordinator and saying, you still call the defensive plays, we're just going to give you more responsibility. You're the underling to the guy who hired you, the guy who taught you how to be a defensive coordinator, because he had never had that kind of success in any coaching gig in his life until he started working for Saleh and turned that defense around at year 2, not even year 1, year 2. So Ulbrich was being made by Saleh. Now you're going to take Saleh away and expect an improvement? What was going to improve? So, I'm not against the idea that Robert Saleh might not be a head coach and might not have been the right guy for this team moving forward. But firing when we were 2-3 doesn't make any sense. It was an emotional move by an angry owner because he was embarrassed that we lost in London. And he was humiliated with the Denver game. And I don't blame him. Because the whole thing that Sean Payton said about Hackett, who he then hired, so he's probably embarrassed about that. How do you let this team beat you? So he was already, according to this article, pissed off by that time. But the reality is, look, it didn't work. They had to go, but they blew up this season, and it doesn't make sense on why. And it makes us look bad and sloppy as an organization. It just doesn't make any sense. Why did they have to blow it up that way? What would have happened in that Buffalo game if Saleh wasn't fired? I don't know. Maybe we'd have lost by more. Maybe we would have. I don't know. Maybe we'd have a better record because the defense wouldn't be terrible right now. Maybe Saleh would know how to fix it. I don't know. But the reality is, here we are, and JD is gone, and he did some good things. He did some bad things. Overall, it didn't work. We could blame injuries. We could blame this. We could blame that. We could defend him. We could not defend him. I personally think he'll go back to an assistant position. And I think he'll get another chance because he's young. I think he will get another chance. And I think it sucks when you have to give away people like Saleh and JD, only because, I understand they can't be in the position they were in, but wouldn't it be great if you were able to hold on to Saleh as a defensive coordinator? Wouldn't it be great if JD could still be an assistant in the personnel department or just the negotiating department? Because he seemed to be, well, maybe not negotiating, but I don't know. There seemed to be things he did well that we could utilize. He just wasn't the guy that should be in charge, apparently. I don't know whose fault it was. It may have been more Woody's fault than his. I don't know what would have happened with JD if Woody just would have stayed out of it the whole time. We'll never know. That's the thing. We'll never know. I just know that Woody is bad for this city and these fans and this team and this organization. And there's nothing we could do about it. So like when people say get rid of Woody, find a new owner, whatever, it's all of that is ridiculous. There's nothing we could do. He loves being the owner of this team. He's not going anywhere. Let's check the chats here. I'm sorry, I have to see my head when I do it. Oh, Nick is eating a salad. He's losing tons of weight, so that's great. You missed me going off on Alon. Look, I'm not, you know what though, with Alon, with Alan with an O? In some ways, I have to humble myself. Like, okay, you're going to hate that I say this, Nick, but, we have to humble ourselves a little bit. I mean, we could go back to the videos of us in the last 2.5 years, and there's a lot of stuff that we said that we were fucking dead-ass wrong. I mean, where we were fucking drinking Kool-Aid and fucking talking out of our asses. Now, again, I'll defend the things we were saying at the time with the information we had. I don't think we were stupid. I don't think we were making things up. I don't think we were like inventing things or like brainwashed or anything. But there is a time where you have to shrug your shoulders and say, well, I was wrong. Like Joe Champion pissed everybody off. He was one of those guys who hated Zach Wilson. There's a couple of other guys at the time too. They hated him. And we fought with them and said, you're negative, you're this, you're that. And they were right. Like, you have to be able to look up and say, yeah, you were right. Like I admit it. And I've admitted it many times. I wanted Zach Wilson. I was happy with the pick. I was wrong. But then again, the people who watch us, who criticize us, who say you guys are wrong and you guys blah, 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 and attack us, also aren't seeing the point. We never said we were experts. I never heard Nick do it. I never heard me do it. I've never heard a lot of the other guys, but Green Bay. I haven't heard. Well, Green Bean is a joke. Will sometimes say it. I should be a GM, but I don't. But I don't think they ever seriously looked and said, like we're experts. We know more than you. The only difference between us is we like to entertain. We like to be in front of you and talk, and you know what I mean. But we're just bearded. Boner alert because I have a beard. I actually got to shave. But the point is that we never claim to know more than anyone else. Sometimes we'll get in arguments. We'll defend our picks. Well, you call me stupid. I call you stupid. It's gotten personal. And that's been stupid over a freaking sport. Like I participated in stupidity because for some reason we can't just agree to disagree. Because we can't appreciate that sports comes with different opinions and you're allowed to have different opinions. But somehow, people like this low-life Grant Rude that lives out there, I don't know if anybody there's this low-life egg, we call him Egg. He's emotionally disturbed, very fragile. His name is Grant Rude. And he said, we're all liars, and we're horrible representation, and we pretend. No, we're not liars. We're just Jet fans that get excited about certain things. Like, being a YouTube content provider is not working for freaking ESPN. We don't have any credentials other than, I don't know, if people watch us, for some reason they like to watch us. It's more entertainment than it is expertise. And then, there are casual fans who don't follow the team strictly that might ask us questions. But the questions are really based on, we don't follow the team every day. And it's like, hey, I'm checking in and I see you talking about the Jets. What's your opinion on this guy? Because they don't know anything about him. And that's fine. And we'll share what we know. And that's cool too. But like the reality is, if you look at it as a perspective of did my excitement get shit on? Was everything I thought about this team and this rebuild wrong? Not every part of it. And not every reason for having that belief, because I'm a Jet fan. I have the right to believe and be excited about the team. But did it end up being wrong? And a lot of the things I believe to be true turn out to be wrong? Yes. We still insist on saying what a talented roster this is. At what point? Well, define talent. I mean, individually, there are guys that seem to be good football players, but you can go to any bad football team in the league, and there are some guys that are good, right? I mean, there are some players on the team that are good, but do you define talent as the team is talented, meaning the team plays coordinated teamwork football? Do the units play well together? And my answer is no. And a lot of people say, well, that's coaching. Okay, but is it also some selfishness of the players? I mean, when we say talented team, we name Brees Hall, Brees Hall, Brees Hall. I don't know, man. I don't know about Brees Hall. He's not as talented as we thought. He's not that good. I mean, he's good in space. Maybe he's a third down back. I don't know. But he's not that good. He's not what we thought he was. I was comparing him to Adrian fucking Peterson his rookie year. He looked like Adrian Peterson or Gary and James. He looked amazing his first year. Then he had that injury. He's not been the same. He just hasn't. So to sit there and say, is that the talent you're talking about? Because it's not that talented. He's a good running back. He's not a premier running back right now. He's not playing like one. He simply isn't playing like one. And the excuse of the offensive line really isn't there. He's indecisive. They show it. You could watch the film. He's indecisive. He's not as good as he was. So we say talented. Who are we saying is talented? AVT, not that talented. He's good. I talked about it before. When he's healthy, maybe because of the injuries, it doesn't matter what the reason is, but right now at this point of his career, AVT is good. He's not great. He just isn't. You watch him on the film, he isn't. He gives up pressures. He gives up sacks. He's struggling with pass blocking. He's not great. So, again, the talent we're talking about. JJ's hurt. He might never be the same. It's an Achilles. Jermaine Johnson might just be a good edge setter. And that's all he might ever be. We thought they were talented because of Kinlaw. Kinlaw's not good. Kinlaw's not good. He's not horrible, but he's not good. Not that talented. Right? So, and then Sauce regressed a little bit. He's still really good. Like, believe it or not, he's still really good. It's not like he's a bad cornerback. But of course he fell off a cliff, though. He regressed. But it's 1 year. Is it a bad year? Is a good coach going to get him out of it? Did he, is it his focus? Is it something about him that he needs to adjust? Of course he might. But like this talented team, he's not playing that, though. Right now, this year, he's not playing like that talent. So the talent we're talking about, Aaron Rodgers, I'm sorry, he's just the 22nd best quarterback in the NFL, and deservingly so. It's not because we didn't give him weapons. It's not because the offensive line is horrible. It's not. He's getting the ball out in his normal amount of time. It's not any of those things. He's just not as good. I mean, compared to anyone we've ever had, yeah, he's better than them, but he's not that good. He's the 22nd best quarterback in the NFL, which might be enough to be a playoff team if you had a good defense, which we don't. So everybody talks about this talent. Where's the talent? The safeties are horrible. We don't have a good safety room. We don't have anybody special in that room. Again, they're not bad individually. I mean, Cam Clark came back from injuries, had some good games, had some bad games. Mills found him on the garbage heap, has played really well for a guy you found on the garbage heap. But no one's knocking down doors to these guys. They're not stars, right? These aren't amazing players that we can't believe aren't winning. They're like, some of them are playing well, fine. I like Tippmann. He's playing well, like a top 10 center. Great. Simpson playing like a top 10 guard. Great. That's something we're going to build around. But where's all this talent? Devontae Adams, has been not horrible. I'm not like putting him down. But, and I'm not even blaming him. Like, maybe it's just because we don't have good coaching. We don't utilize it. But he's not going to be part of this team moving forward. So when people say, oh, we have all this talent to attract the next coach, what do we have? We're going to lose Reed, most likely to free agency. What do we have? Our best wide receiver is disgruntled. He's not happy. He's probably going to request a trade. He's certainly not going to want to sign a long-term deal with us. That's Garrett Wilson. I guarantee you that. There's no way he's happy. He looks unhappy. I mean, is anyone here really going to make an argument they think Garrett Wilson's happy? Can we make him happy? Is it a lost cause? I'm not saying that. But, okay, you get a good wide receiver that you're going to have to make happy. We could agree on that. To anyone who takes the coaching job, GM job, you're starting off with a wide receiver that's incredibly talented, but he's unhappy. Okay? You're starting out with some good offensive linemen, some young guys that have potential to be good. Okay. That's nice. It's true. Now you're starting out with a running back that's a mystery. He used to be amazing. Now he's just an okay running back. All right, but they're solid. But they're not stars. We don't have a star running back. We don't. They're not stars. Devontae Adams is gone, right? We're not paying him $36 million. And why would he re-sign with us? Why would he renegotiate with us? unless A-Rod comes back, which would be the worst thing for the team. Worst thing for us is if this whoever comes in decides we want Aaron Rodgers to be our starting quarterback. What makes you think he's not going to regress more? He's going to be even another year older. You think he's going to get better? Do you think there's room for improvement? Can we get real? If you look at his career and look at the graph, minus the year he was hurt, the last year at Green Bay was the tilt down. He dropped down. This year is much worse than that year, or worse than that year. He's ascending downward. He's not the future. All it does is delay the growth or the rebuild of the team. It does nothing good unless you're treating it and bringing him back as a bridge quarterback. The only problem with that is he's not going to shut up. He's not going to be willing to take a servient bridge quarterback type role. He's going to be a problem. He's going to continue to insist on calling audibles and doing what he wants with the offense. And you're gonna push $35 million to 2026. And why would we do that? Wouldn't you rather just clean the cap out now, take the entire hit now? Just take the $60 million cap hit right now. Get it off our books. Get new coaching, get the new GM in here. Find the young guys that we have. Do the draft, focus on the draft. If we don't have a top 4 pick in this draft, if the guy we don't love isn't there and there's a buyer, sell down. Get more volume. Bring in, there's so many good tight ends that are second round picks, though, not first round picks. There are really good running backs, but they're not, I wouldn't take one in the front. I don't think we're at a point where we take a running back anyway. But there are positions where they're not superstars, but they're more second, third round type guys. They're guys with potential. Get a lot of those because there aren't a lot of guarantees in the draft anyway. Once you're outside the top 5, top 6, there's very few elite picks anyway. So, but if you get in the top 6, I mean, if obviously if Mason Graham is there, you grab him. And I know a lot of people are going to say, oh, you can't take a defensive tackle. Bullshit. We're rebuilding now. Build the trenches. Build the trenches. I have no problem with them doing that. I mean, I don't think there's a right, unfortunately, there's not a right tackle we're taking. Otherwise, I'd be fine with it. Solidify the line. Treat 2025 as we don't want this disaster of a year. We want to see more effort. We want to see more, what do we call it? Fundamentals. Less missed tackles, fundamental football. We want to see better football. We would it might only be 6 to 7 wins. Hopefully it will be, and it won't be 3 to 5. Hopefully you'll get 6 to 7 wins. We'll see the improvement, not because the talent is better, because we're rebuilding and we've had to strip down a little bit, but we'll be better because they just are better coached and play fundamental football. And there's some talent. You could come in there if Tyrod Taylor's not horrible if he's the bridge quarterback. If Travis Jordan doesn't work out, right? One of them might be fine. Tyrod Taylor with a good offensive line still has Garrett Wilson, still has Breece Hall behind him, still has bring back Lazard. I don't know. He played better. Right, so and Corley, maybe he emerges. I mean, we don't have to be putrid. We still have some guys like on defense, like our defensive line could be kind of rebuilt up. If we took a Mason Graham, we could be stronger up the middle. Right, McDonald will come back. He's growing and getting better. JJ comes back, might be a good edge setter. We're not a terrible team if it's well coached. There's hope to even make the playoffs, but don't even make that the expectation. Just win 6 to 7 games or whatever and get the organization in the right direction. Then in 26, that's the year you're looking for a quarterback. That's the year that we got quarterbacks coming out in that draft. In 2026, there's going to be 3 or 4 prospective quarterbacks that could be special. It's never a guarantee, but it could be. And that's when the money will be cleared. So suddenly we can start not bringing in fucking superstars that are 30 years old. You got to be smart. You got to look for the guys that slip away off the first contract. Guys that are still 27, 28, that are still really good, that are down for the next 3 or 4 years. Can't be it can't be we're going to drop $35 million on one superstar. No, this team has to build. So you have to find good value guys. Like free agency doesn't have to be about superstars. It could be about finding solid players and then draft the superstars. And then when you get to that point where you find your quarterback and you have a good offensive line and things are going well, that's when you go out and you scrape up money and get creative with deals and try to bring in a star if you need one. If you couldn't draft one or two, if you couldn't draft enough. But we need to rebuild. And I think that's what's going to attract the better GM. Because if you go in and say, no, you have to work with Rodgers and you have to try to make this work, that's much less desirable. A new GM wants to come in and make it their own. That's what any good leader wants. So that's what we have to get ready for and prepare for. What are you guys saying? Jeremy, hey, would you take Justin Fields? I don't know, as a bridge quarterback? And then if he's better than a bridge quarterback, fine. But right now, he's not a complete quarterback. He's a game manager because of his legs. Like he has a way that he could help you win games. You could win games with him, but he's still not shown he could truly be a quarterback that goes through progressions, that could stay in the pocket, not bail, be more than one read with the check down. Like you got to go beyond that. I don't want a long-term quarterback that is incapable of going past one read check down or one read take off and run. And he has not proven that he could be that guy. He has a lot of other talent about him. He has a great arm, and I think that, he lost a lot of his accuracy, but I think that's because he's running for his life. But I don't know. I don't know if Fields would be the answer for me that I like. I still like Sam Howell. I think that's a guy who had a very good rookie year and then never got another chance, and I just don't understand it. Like, it doesn't make any sense to me. Like, and I'm not saying Howell's going to be good. I'm not saying Sam Howell's going to be a good quarterback or great quarterback. I'm just saying he certainly never got his second chance. Like, his first year was better than a lot of good quarterbacks in this league. Like, he had his first year was much, much better, and so many other quarterbacks got more chances to develop, and for some reason, he never got his chance. And I don't understand why. Because he's a late-round pick? I don't care. He played well. As a matter of fact, I would love to compare Sam Howell's numbers, his first 10 games or 11 games, to Aaron Rodgers' first 11 games with us this year. And I bet you that Howell's better. It's a crazy thing to say, but go back and look. I think that Howell had like a 93 quarterback rating to Aaron Rodgers' 85. That number I have right in my head already. So there are other guys I would rather take a look at, not to not pick the guy you like with, not the guy to gamble and put all your chips in, but just to take, like if you said, who do you want to throw on the roster and just take a look at? I want to look at Travis. We drafted him. If he wasn't injured, he could have been a second, third round pick, right? There were some good things about him. His arm is questionable. He has a weak arm. But what if he's like a Tua that stays healthy, though? If you have the right offensive coordinator that knows how to utilize them, a Sam Purdy, a Tua, there are guys that don't exactly use cannons, right? It's not about arm strength with guys like that. So it's fine. There's not to quote Salah, but there's more than one way to skin a cat. So, it's funny because we'll talk about Tua. Oh, his arm's not good enough. He's this, he's only this. He's better than any quarterback we've had since Joe Namath or Chad Pennington. Ken O'Brien, Chad Pennington are the only two quarterbacks we've had on this organization since Joe Namath that you can even compare to Tua. So we all need to shut up about, like, putting down our rivals because we don't like them. It drives me crazy. It's like, are you kidding me? Like, you don't wish we had Tua? He wouldn't be a better quarterback for us? I mean, he's not the dream quarterback, but if he was healthy, if he didn't have the concussion issues, are you kidding me? It's like, it's so ridiculous, the things that come out of our mouths. Like, we sit there, like, half the fan base, oh, Derek Carr sucks. Who have we had that you can compare to Derek Carr? Who? Like, I don't understand. What quarterback has this organization had that you can compare to Derek Carr? We certainly don't have one that's thrown for 4,000 yards in the last 55 years. I mean, like, I don't understand this fan base. Like, the things that we say. Like, yeah, of course we want a Patrick Mahomes or a Josh Allen. But you know what? Like there has, you have to find another way because you can't rely on the fact because they're not there. They don't exist. There's only two or three quarterbacks like that at a time at any time. They don't exist. You have to find a way to take a guy like Tua, like Prescott, whoever you want to say, like Geno Smith. I don't know who's good right now. Kirk Cousins, what Matt Ryan was, what Joe Flacco was. You have to be able to take a guy like that, and you have to be able to find a way to put the team around it that could win. Because you can't sit there and say, well, you can't just sit there and think it's not going to happen, or we're going to give up, or we have to have the next Patrick Mahomes or Josh Allen. Because it just simply doesn't exist. Washington struck gold now, it appears, with Jaden Allen. Fucking losing my freaking mind now. With Jaden Daniels. And then it looks like New England has a good quarterback in May. I'm not convinced Drake May is going to be elite, but they certainly have a good quarterback. Drake May might be a guy that's have a Joe Flacco-like career, a Matt Ryan-type career. These are just good quarterbacks. They're good. Like Derek Carr, good quarterbacks. They're not these elite guys. They're not Patrick Mahomes. Fine, we get it. But you're gonna have to if you realistically think that we have to get a guy that Derek Carr sucks and we need a quarterback significantly better than him in order to win a Super Bowl. Basically, what you're saying is we need an elite guy, which is only 2 or 3 of. Basically, you're saying if we don't find that elite guy, there's no point in watching because we're not winning. But it's not true. It's not true. In the last few years, Patrick Mahomes has kind of dominated, so it's been true. But Tom Brady in his last couple of Super Bowls wasn't the top 3 elite quarterback anymore. He was just really, really good and experienced. And he had a great defense, and he had the right team around him. Right? That's why he left New England. He went to Tampa, and he found a better team to put around him. But, we need to accept the fact that we're not necessarily going to find an elite top 3 Hall of Fame quarterback, and we're just going to have to build a really good team and find a good quarterback and compete and try to win a Super Bowl, like Joe Flacco won a Super Bowl. Anybody, the people who've been watching longer, we could name Eli Manning won 2 Super Bowls. Eli Manning won 2 Super Bowls. Brock Purdy came within an inch of winning a Super Bowl. He came so freaking close. Right? So we know it's possible. We know you could have guys that aren't lights out Hall of Fame quarterbacks that you could build a team around and do. But we found out that we need a general manager and a coach. The general manager has to come first. Nick's been screaming it. I don't know why everybody's not acknowledging that. We continue to talk about coach. And I understand it. Yes, it's we want to know who's out there and we want to talk about potential coaches. But understand, we need to find a GM first. And people are saying, oh, no, Jeremy. It's good. You could get the coach to come. They get to pick their own GM. How is that a good thing? No, I don't want a coach that picks the GM. No, the GM is the coach's boss. That doesn't work. It's not good. You want a vice president of operations or a GM that hires the coach. They're the coach's boss. That's what you want. Right away, people want to give Vrabel the keys. No, bring in Vrabel so we can hire your GM. What? I like Vrabel. But Vrabel's not ready or didn't do anything to earn that. To be the guy that you hand the organization to and say, you hire the GM? No. We hire a good GM that can talk Vrabel into coming here. And some of you say, oh, I need a defensive-minded coach. No, I don't want a defensive-minded head coach. You need an offensive one. No, you don't. You need a head coach that knows how to hire a good offensive coordinator. That's what you need. Vrabel hired 2 in his career so far. He's known to have hired 2 offensive coordinators that look pretty good right now. I know one of them is LaFleur for Green Bay. Having a pretty good career. So, and I'm not just going to promote Vrabel, by the way, guys. That's just one of the guys I'm using as an example. I actually liked the defensive coordinator for the Minnesota Vikings. He was that guy that was the coach for Miami who got fired. And I don't care what anybody was saying. I was scared of what Miami was going to be. He was turning that organization around. I was scared. I said, Flores. I was scared of what they were going to be. I said, they got a real coach. We're in trouble. And then look what he did in Minnesota. This guy succeeds everywhere he goes. and nobody talks about him. Not enough people talk about him. I would love to have him as a coach. Love it. Love it. There are good guys out there. And you know what? For whatever reason, nobody wants to give him a chance. So maybe we can get a guy like that. I'll tell you what, you don't, there won't be a problem with discipline. There won't be a problem with that. This guy's an asshole. Maybe we need a little bit of an asshole. Maybe we need someone who's a little bit of an asshole. Maybe walking around, maybe having your head coach walking around going, Sauce, Sauce. Maybe that's not such a good look. Maybe your head coach shouldn't be a fan of the players. Maybe they shouldn't act like we do. I mean, you know what I mean? Maybe they shouldn't be on the phone going, Sauce. Maybe they need to have a little bit of freaking, I don't know, of like a coach to player relationship. Even Lawrence Taylor, who ran the captain of the Giants, right? Respected Parcells. Parcells had control, not of what, the drugs or whatever, but I mean, that was outside of football, on the field and on the team, in the locker room. He was great. But Phil Simms, Parcells, it was like coach relationship with his players. You need a strong coach who has a strong relationship with his players, right? And has the respect of his players. Aaron Rodgers, by the way, is only going to respect coaches that bow to him. He's gonna fight with any coach that tries to control him, or not even control, but treat him like a player, like another player on the team. I don't care what Rodgers says. He plays all like he says it's not true, not true, not true. It's true. Believe me. And you see the frustration of the players are starting to realize, why are we listening to this guy? Like, you see it, like it's already happening. They're like, what the fuck? Why are we listening to this guy? He's starting to throw receivers under the bus. He's saying it's that we're running wrong routes. No, it's not. There was one pass in the red zone where he threw the ball and the guy didn't even turn yet. I'm sick of hearing, he did the wrong thing. No. You saw he wasn't looking. Rodgers never did that in his career. He never had that problem. We gave you Devontae. You're still saying that it's the connections of the player? Like, it's Mike Williams' fault. It's Garrett Wilson's fault that we don't have a connection. He's learning. Now it's Devontae's fault? Like, it's always going to be a different receiver's fault? At what point is it your fucking fault? Maybe stop calling an audible every freaking play and confusing the shit out of your teammates. Maybe actually just freaking call the play that your coordinator calls. How about that? Maybe you're not so smart as you think. Maybe what you're calling the audibles aren't really working. Maybe the defense, our opponents have figured out, you can manipulate Aaron Rodgers. Show them show something to create something. Let's get him to throw up the middle. Let's show this. Let's sell it. And then when he snaps the ball, let's play as if we're playing up the middle. I don't know, but it seems like if you're going to audible every play, and he's audibling almost every play, he really is. Every play he goes down to 1 second. That's why you could see him doing it, right? I mean, I don't know. Nick knows better than me. Maybe he'll argue that because he could see it and know because he was a coach and he knows what it looks like when an audible is happening. It feels like, to me, it's happening. It feels like guys are getting up and moving. It feels like he's communicating and realigning. Now, is that planned? I don't know, but it doesn't look planned. It looks like he's calling an audible. I don't like it. OC, I would take Flores as head coach. Good. Yeah, a great defense can carry you. Yeah, look. I understand though. I'm not going to say. I understand that. Why any fan? I understand the argument, and I have the argument. I want an offense. But what I believe is that I don't think the head coach always has to matter in that if you have a head coach that knows how to hire coordinators. Bill Parcells was a defensive-minded coach originally in his career. At one point in his career, he couldn't even tell. But what did Parcells do right? He hired well. He hired a guy that fit his overall scheme. What were the Giants? Great defense, great run, control the ball with the run, quarterback who could make third down plays when he had to, right? And then we went to the Jets. What did he make the Jets? Great defense, powerhouse offensive line, power running game, Curtis Martin, demolishing running game, Vinny Testaverde, can make the throws that when you need to on third down. That was his style. He found offensive coordinators that knew how to do that. Right? So that's what you need. The question is, does Flores have offensive coordinator? Will he be able to find an offensive coordinator that's with his mindset? I think he will because he comes from the New England Belichick tree. So I do think he has that overview of how to win. And I think that if you look at the roster that Miami had, the 2 years I think that he was the coach, that Brian Flores had, I think it was 2 years. It may have only been one, but I think it was two. If you look at the years that he was coach, they overperformed. They were a much better team than we are right now, and they had much less talent. Much less talent. But they were a better team because they were well coached. He's a real coach. You can't be picky and say, oh, I want an offensive-minded coach. No, we need a real coach. And Brian Flores and Michael Vrabel are both guys that are proven real coaches. When I say real coaches, I mean not that they're automatically going to win a Super Bowl, not that they've proven that they're Andy Reid yet or Parcells. I'm talking about coaches who have proven they could coach a football team that's not an embarrassment, that they know how to run a camp and they know how to teach fundamentals and not look ridiculous. And not just play up to their potential, play above their potential. Like play above their individual talent because the team chemistry and the team talent overcomes the individual talent. Vrabel did that in Tennessee and Flores did that in Miami. That's why I like both those candidates. The problem with going with a never ever a head coordinator is that I don't care how good of a coordinator you are. It's a different job. Head coach is not coordinator. The head coach sets the culture. The head coach makes the decisions on benching players and personnel. I can't sit through another Robert Saleh. I can't sit through another coach who has to learn and is not strong enough to do it, who is afraid to do it. They're coaching afraid. There were so many guys that should have gotten more reps, so many guys who should have been benched sooner. But Saleh only could face Denzel Mims, was the only guy he could hold accountable, that and some other guys. It took him 3 different drives. Ty Johnson had to ruin 3 drives for us, dropping passes before he finally took him out. 3! Some coaches do it the first one. Or they don't do it after the first one, but that next drive, they don't throw to him on third down. They get their confidence back and throw to him on first or second down. But you don't go back to him on third down. And certainly no coach worth their salt has that same guy in there still, after 2 drives ended by dropping third down passes, still in there on third down the next drive, still not benched, and then throws to him on third down, allows him to be the check down that you throw to, and allow it to happen again, and then he drops the third pass. To me, that right away made me raise my eyebrow and say, is he going to get better as a coach? Because that was crazy. But then, would Robert Saleh have ever benched Tyron Smith? Would he ever have benched him? Or would he have sat while we have the 11th overall pick sitting on the bench and sat and watched Smith play terribly? Why isn't LT3 playing? Because Saleh set the culture. And Ulbrich, it wasn't different enough or strong enough to change the culture. And I'm not blaming Ulbrich. He might be fine if he takes over his own team, gets to build his own locker room, let him go to a rebuilding team of his own, and start with new players and build it. Maybe after a few more years of being a coordinator, because no one's going to hire him now after what's happened. But maybe he could be a fine head coach. But this is clearly he's doing the same bad habits as Saleh. He's not. The personnel decisions are embarrassing. How do you have 2 strong safeties playing in a game? Okay, fine. During the game against the Colts, we thought they were going to be a running team. You started 2 strong safeties. Great. Okay, fine. You got your 2 guys that to stop the run. But you tell me how you don't make adjustments after they started. Richardson was passing well. You tell me how you set it up that it's Jalen Mills covering their freaking receiver in a critical part of the game on the final drive, alone, a safety unsupported on a wide receiver. How do you justify that? By the way, Sauce wasn't wrong. It was a 2-read defense. He had two responsibilities that he had to look for. The slot cut across the middle, that was Sauce's responsibility. Now, he didn't do it well. Like, if it would have went to the slot receiver, we could have yelled at him because he hesitated, and it wasn't a well-executed play by him. But Sauce had no responsibility to be helping Jalen on that play. None at all. He did his job. The slot cut across the middle, he jumped forward, or whoever he was due to cover in that zone. That was the defense. He played the defense the way he was supposed to play it. He was not supposed to go deep with Jalen Mills. He was not. He was not. And I'm saying that not because I know about football, but I know Rob Sabo from X Factor knows about football. And he came right out of his mouth. He pointed it out. He said, Sauce did not misplay that. And those of you who watch Jake and see him on Jake's show know that. And you heard him say that. And I believe him because he explained it. And what he explained made sense. Which is why we can't jump on players and say it's their fault until we really know. At least not with like saying, oh, he missed his assignment. Like we could be mad at the player when they're clearly doing the coverage and they mess up. But we can't, don't be too quick to jump and say, look, Sauce didn't go backwards. He let that receiver go free to the safety. He was supposed to. He did his job. It was his job to do that. Once the other receiver cut across, it was his zone. He had to cover that part of the field. The question that you should say is why did we call that defensive play? Why did we call that defense? Why did we call a defensive scheme or a play that left the deep sidelines manned with only a safety on a receiver? That's the question. You got a team that has limited time. The clock is running down. They need to score a touchdown. What's the first rule there of defense? You got a team that's limited on time that needs to go down the field. What's the number one rule? What's the first thing you take away? You take away the sidelines. Deep vertical passing game. It's the first thing you take away. The first thing you say to them is if you're going to get yards, you're going to have to go up the middle because then there's no running out of bounds. So you're going to have to burn your timeouts. You're going to have to hurry up. You're going to have to burn your clock. But that's the first rule. We all know that. So what kind of defensive call was that? That set up a situation where a receiver could just simply run down the sideline and be covered by a safety. Again, you want to call the normal part of the game like that because you don't think their quarterback is good and you want to challenge their quarterback and you think your safety is good enough and you want to pressure them or you want to take away the middle of the field because that's what you think they're doing or you want to take away the run on a normal first down and 10 situation, second down and 8, whatever it is, that's fine. But you tell me how with a couple of minutes to go in the game and they need a touchdown, you tell me how you're sitting there and not playing a defensive scheme that protects the sideline downfield vertically. Am I wrong? Because to me, that's not even I had to learn about football or talk to Dom C. That was just common sense, right? Any casual fan knows that. Every team does it. You got to take away the sidelines near the end of the game. Time is running out. Take away the sidelines. And how many times have we seen the other opposing team take what you give them? And it's a rush. They go up the middle and then they're rushing because the clock is ticking. And then we could have brought them to a situation where they probably couldn't believe they got so far so fast. It was supposed to be if they get to the 30-yard line, that there was only 30 seconds left, and now they take their shots to the end zone. That's what it was supposed to be. It wasn't supposed to be that you leave the sideline open with the safety so they can complete a 40-yard pass, and then the next play go up the middle, and boom, they're at the 10-yard line. It wasn't supposed to be. It was still plenty of time. It wasn't supposed to be like that. That's poor coaching. That's poor play calling. It wasn't on Sauce. I understand you saying Sauce committed to neither. He didn't execute it well, but it didn't matter because he did go forward. He didn't do it well. If they would have ended up throwing to that receiver that was his responsibility, then we could say, oh, that completion was Sauce's fault. But it doesn't matter because he should not have been covering that guy on the sideline. That would have been the wrong move for him based on the play. That would have been the incorrect move. So what I'm saying is you could sit there and say Sauce did the wrong thing, Sauce didn't execute well. Fine. But Sauce had no business being on that play. And the real question that I'm saying is to Jersey Jet. The real thing I'm asking you is, fine, you want to criticize Sauce, criticize Sauce. Who should we really be mad at? You're not mad at your defensive coordinator? You're not mad at your coaching staff for not protecting the sidelines? For not calling a scheme that automatically had Sauce protecting the sideline with the safety? And give away the middle of the field? To an extent. I'm not saying give away where no one's there. But who should we be more mad at? Because even if Sauce executed that perfectly, that doesn't change the outcome of the play. The outcome of the play is, we put our safety, a guy that we found on the garbage heap, a strong safety, not a free safety. I keep saying safety, and I'm not even being as explicit as I need to be. It wasn't just that we only had a safety on him. It was a strong safety. It's a box safety. Meanwhile, Adams, our free safety, was on the bench or on the sideline. My question is why? Why didn't we have Eccles in there? Why didn't we go in dime and cover the sidelines? I don't understand. I don't understand how we ended up with a strong safety covering a wide receiver in that situation. I don't understand it. It's inexcusable. Okay, you're saying, now you're saying Tomlin called the wrong play. No, there's no way he could make up for it. What do you mean his instinct? The guy cut across. He had to go. There's no way he could have then stopped and gained the speed to catch up to the play. Watch the play again. What instinct? What could he have done? The guy, when he went forward, he had to. The ball wasn't in the air yet. The quarterback still had the option. The quarterback still had the choice. He had to do it. It was his assignment to do it. It should not have been his assignment to do it. It doesn't make sense. You're defending. I don't know why you would defend it. Tomlin wouldn't be that stupid, though. Tomlin wouldn't have called that play. Why aren't you seeing that? Why aren't you mad and angry that they didn't call? You don't call the wrong play and yell at the player and say, you should have had the instinct to fix my mistake. He did the play. The guy cut across. He watched the receiver cut. The job was to go forward. If the receiver went deep, his job was to come back also and back deep. He did his job. You can't blame him for that. No cornerback would have fixed that. It's not true. Porter would not have fixed that. He wouldn't have been able to catch up. There's no way he would have been able to catch up. He had to break. When the guy cut across, he had to stop going backwards. How are you going to stop a 4-5, a receiver who runs a 4-5 or whatever it is, 4-4, who's going deep? How are you going to catch up to that? There was no catching up. It's like you're criticizing the wrong thing. It was the coaching. Why didn't we have it? Why were we schemed that way? Why didn't we have it set up to take away the vertical part of the field? Why didn't we put the strength of our defense to stopping that? Why didn't, like every other team? Tomlin never would have done that. You're literally naming one of the best coaches in the NFL. Do you honestly think he would have exposed the sideline to a strong safety and a wide receiver? And he wouldn't have thought to myself, why give him the option? If your expectation is that the player is going to magically have the instinct to not do what he's supposed to do and instead go back and cover the guy, why call the wrong play? Why put your player in the position to instinctually do the wrong thing? It doesn't make sense. Call the right defensive play. You want to sit there and pick on Sauce? Jerk off and pick off on Sauce. Really, masturbate all night long going, Sauce is bad, and convince yourself that it's Sauce's fault. And just let the coach off the hook. Even though it clearly was a horrendously called defensive play. This is like when I was 11 years old and started watching the Jets. One of the first things just from watching football on TV and knowing nothing that you pick up on is, in the final minutes of the game, they talk about it all the time. They give the opposing offense the middle of the field, but they take away the sidelines. And they take away the deep pass. It's just 101, the most fundamental thing. So how could we sit here and be mad at Sauce for doing the job he was supposed to do and say, well, you should have been magically instinctual. You should have stopped You should have watched the receiver you were supposed to watch, and then quickly be able to say, but I instinctually feel he's not going to throw it to that guy. And then after having to commit to like stop to cover that zone, accelerate and run backwards and get to where the ball was. It wasn't like it was a hung up ball where there was plenty of time. The guy threw a fucking gem. He threw a dime. He threw a beautiful pass. I don't even blame Jalen Mills for it. It was an in-stride, beautiful vertical pass. There was no way Sauce was stopping it. The only way you had any chance of stopping that play is if you were on that guy from the call initially. There was no way you were making up for it. There's no way you were going to be a two-read guy that was going to overcome your job wasn't to go initially with him and then suddenly instinctually be able to jump and go back initially with him. I'm sorry, it's just not true. It's like, it's crazy to expect that. And even if you did expect that, even if you argue there's quarterbacks who can do it, it doesn't matter. How could you be more mad at Sauce than the coach for calling that play, for creating a situation where the wide receiver was allowed, based on the way you called the play, if they cut a guy across, that's where the cornerback goes, and the safety covers the guy who goes deep. That was literally the way the defense called that play, to do that in that situation. We literally said, or predict, maybe we didn't think they were going to do that play. I don't know. But we literally set it up that if they did, which they did, sent a receiver across the field to break across this middle of the field, we set it up that it was our cornerback who had to defend that. And that our safety would be left with anybody who went deep. That's what we did. I mean, I don't understand. You're saying, why did he point at his teammate? I don't know why he pointed at anything. I don't know what he was pointing about. I don't know what he was thinking or what he was doing. I just know that there was nothing he could do. Like, what you're saying is impossible. It is impossible. If a receiver in front of me, if I have two receivers in front of me, and my job as the cornerback is, if somebody cuts across the field, my job is to go after him. Even if I take that step, I stop going backwards because I see he makes the cut, and I take that step. Even if somehow I magically look up and see the quarterback's eyes or whatever it is, I instinctually feel he's going to go deep. It's too late. He's going to stop his momentum and start running and catch up to somebody who's already running full speed that's 10 yards past him down the field? Like, I don't understand. What are we talking about here? Like, you don't understand the physics of that? That it's impossible? Like, why wouldn't you be mad that our coach, our head coach, who calls the defense, didn't know the most fundamental thing you're supposed to know? The most fundamental, basic thing that you're supposed to know is that when you have a lead and the other team has to score a touchdown, not a field goal, that's different. Because field goal, you have to hold them at a field goal range. You can't give them the center of the field. But they had to score a touchdown. They had limited time to do it. What's the one thing you don't want them to do? You don't want them to be able to easily get out of bounds, and you don't want them, which means take away the sideline, and you sure as hell don't want them to be able to go deep. So what do? Not only did you call the wrong play, but what the fuck was two strong safeties doing in there? How did you not have your free safety in the game? Even Ashton Davis should have been in there instead of Mills. But it should have been Adams because Adams is healthy. So why? Why is that not what you're questioning? Why is it questioning Sauce? Why are you going after the player who wasn't even responsible for that receiver? You're saying, oh, he didn't make the greatest play in the history of football. He didn't somehow make up 15 yards of space within 2 seconds. I'm mad at him. I'm mad at him for not pulling off an impossible play. Even though there's no excuse for him to be in that situation. You can't win that argument. I don't care. You could go on thinking I'm wrong. You can tell everybody in the world that I don't know what I'm talking about. It doesn't matter because anybody who knows anything about football knows I'm right. Because there's no way I could be wrong about that. That's like telling me an offensive lineman's not supposed to block the guy in front of him. I mean, that's like saying on third and 12, with a minute left in the game and you're at the 50-yard line, you should run the ball. And that's an okay thing to do. And you have no timeouts left. It's like, no, there are obvious situations. There's obvious things in football that you don't even have to be a coach. You never even have to have played. You just have to be a fan. And you don't even have to be a fan for that long. There are plenty of things that you just know. And up until this year, I didn't know about nickel dime, what the difference. I didn't give a shit about that. I learned all that shit because of this channel and because Frankie and Dom C. I need to follow what they were saying because I never thought about it. I just knew whatever you call it, don't allow them to get a deep pass on the sideline. And the way that you don't allow that is you don't leave it up to a strong safety to defend it. Like when I saw the receiver going deep and it wasn't one of our cornerbacks, and then it wasn't even Tony Adams, it wasn't even a free safety, it was Jalen Bills covering a guy going deep, and that was designed. That was the play. It wasn't even like if you would have told me later, it wasn't a two-read defense. Like it wasn't Sauce's responsibility. He was supposed to go deep, but that's not the case. Clearly, and I only know that because Sabo, like I said, knows a lot more than any of us, clearly showed it. Now, he said that Sauce didn't do a good job with his guy. That is completely irrelevant. It's like blaming an offensive lineman for doing a shitty job blocking, but the guy didn't get the sack or wasn't relevant in the play. Let's say a guy ran right past Olu and then tripped, and the quarterback makes a play that doesn't work, or makes a play, and let's say it was a horribly called play, like a ridiculous play that we're mad at. You're not going to sit there and talk about Olu, right? Like you're not going to sit there and blame Olu. Jets quit. You got them from Aaron. Oh, I don't know. But look, I mean, the reality is, none of this matters because they're all gone. They're all gone. So we can yell and cry and scream. But going back, I think I started the whole thing by saying, yeah, we have talent, but we're not that talented. And we were terribly coached. We have some individual talent. We don't have team talent. I think there's two different things. I think there's team talent, meaning you have an offensive unit, an offensive line that maybe individually the players aren't as good, but they perform better because they're more in sync, they're better coached, whatever it is. So can these young guys be fixed? Can Garrett Wilson be even better with a great coach and a great offense and a better quarterback? Of course. Can Breece Hall be a better running back with really good coaching and get his confidence back? And maybe it's a scheme, maybe it's a design, maybe Breece Hall just needs more carries. Maybe he's a big play home run hitting type of running back who just needed more play. And if you would have given him the ball more, he would have hit those home runs that he used to hit, where he gets those 70-yard runs. I don't know. But we do have, they'll be around. Whoever comes in to coach this team, you're going to have Breece Hall. You're going to have Braylon Allen. You're going to have Garrett Wilson. You're going to have Lazard. You're going to have a pretty good offensive line. You're going to have some good players. Individually, on paper, good players. They're good players. You're going to have them. That's going to be there for you. You're going to have a pass rusher that's a little limited maybe in his skill set, but he's as good pass rush specialist. You're going to have that. I'm sure that Jermaine Johnson will come back at least good enough to be a good edge setter. He might never be the guy that's going to get 15 sacks now. Like, that might never happen. It might never have happened anyway. He might be like a JJ. Franklin, a JFM. JJ might be like a JFM because of the Achilles. He might never be the same. But I think that it won't slow him down from being a good edge setter. Like, that's still upper body strength and everything. But it might take away his quickness and his jump as far as pass rushing. I don't know that for a fact, but it might. And we have to prepare ourselves for that because that often happens when you tear an Achilles. We're also going to get a good draft pick or picks. We'll see what we do with the pick. But, so there's going to be some talent there. So I am pulling back on what I said. I think the only negative to taking the job with the Jets is the owner. I think right now that's the real negative. I don't think it's the team, especially if Rodgers is gone. I think that it's a negative if Rodgers is there because I think any coach or any GM is going to want to come and start over. And you can't start over with a quarterback who has 1 year in his career left. You can if it's Tyrod Taylor because he's just going to, yes, sir, do what you want. And he's going to, like, just be a good guy in the room. And he's going to be, because he's always been a backup. But A-Rod's not going to do that. A-Rod's not going to cooperate with that. But as soon as Ulbrich is fired, I think that Rodgers is going to announce his retirement or demand a trade. And nobody's going to want him, so he's going to retire. So, that's my prediction anyway. But if A-Rod stays, it's the worst case scenario for us. It puts $35 million back on the books for 26. And it makes an impossible situation for the coach next year. It's like a wasted year. It's a wash. And we'll just waste a year of all of our time. Because then we'll have to just start from when A-Rod is gone. He's just too big of a personality and player. He's a Hall of Famer. It's just too much. It's too distracting. You can't start over with a guy of that caliber at quarterback. Because he's just not a bridge quarterback. You can't use a guy like Rodgers to be your bridge quarterback. A bridge quarterback just has to be a guy like Tyrod Taylor and maybe Travis. Would be great if he won the job and ended up to be a great quarterback. Who knows? It's a dart throw. It could happen, right? I mean, we all know it could happen. It's happened. So it's not impossible. Take Deshaun Watson from the Browns. I don't know. He's pretty bad. He's looked awful. I think that Deshaun Watson is shot. I don't understand it. I'm not saying that I predicted it. Like, I am just as confused as everyone else about Deshaun Watson. I mean, is it mental because of what happened to him? Like, is it psychological because of just the embarrassment and the suspension? Like, I don't know what happened to Deshaun Watson. He was amazing in Houston, right? I mean, or was it Tennessee? He was an amazing player. Amazing. Oh, it was Houston, right? Yeah, played for the Texans. He was so good. So I don't understand it. How a quarterback can get that bad. I mean, he was everything. Every part of his game got bad. I don't understand it. Okay, Jersey Jet. I see that you're being sarcastic when he called the wrong play. And you were talking more about Porter being able to do it. But I just don't think it was humanly possible for anyone to do it. Like, I don't think it was humanly possible for a guy. The guy didn't do a delayed route. The guy just took off. It was like straight full speed, running full speed. I don't know how a cornerback could have to cut, stop, because the second he has to stop to get his guy and cut towards where the guy's going, there's no way he could recover from that, right? Because you have to be stride for stride. And I don't know how you expect him to have said, I'm going to ignore my assignment. I just could feel that it's going to go to this guy. I don't know how maybe if you want to say that he should have anticipated that. But even if that's true, and even if Porter would have done that, I still argue, why did you call? Why wouldn't you be more mad at the guy who called the play? Why would you say it would have been, I wanted a great play from Sauce and an instinctual play from Sauce that went against the play because of great instincts? Why would I be more mad at him for not doing that than I am for the coach for not taking away the vertical sideline? That's my point. I just don't understand it. Why we should be so much more angry at the defense and the scheme and the play calling than we are at the players in that situation. How many years is Rodgers' contract for you? Rodgers has 2 years left, basically, that we're stuck paying him. But we could accelerate it and take the hit all next year. So we could take a $49 million cap hit, or $59 million. We could take a $59 million cap hit in 1 year next offseason, which is fine because we don't have any quarterbacks that we have to pay. Tyrod Taylor we already have. We could, any of our players that we want to extend, we could do contracts that don't affect the 25 salary cap, right, with bonuses and shit like that. We could easily absorb the $59 million hit because we're not looking for free agencies we're not looking for big-time free agents right now. We're not looking to go out and buy big stars in an all-in year anymore. It's done. It's new. We're starting over. So You don't want to. Why would we want to put 35 million to 26 to 2026? Absorb the $59 million hit in 25. Reestablish a new culture next year. See if you could win some games. See how good you could be with the players that you have, and start building towards the future, whatever the plan is, and go into 2026 offseason with everything still on the, like, with an open book, and not have $35 million that's just dead money to Aaron Rodgers. That's what we're talking about. So we could be, when you gone mentally, your physical is not gonna work properly. I agree with that. When you gone mentally, your physically is not. Oh, as far as Deshaun Watson, yeah. And I think in A Rod's, it's the opposite. It's not the mental; it's the physical that's gone, and his body won't do what he wants it to do. Like like you slow. I went through it. I went through the aging thing. Believe me, I'm not as sharp as I was. Your speed in which you think slows down. Your reactions slow down. There's no question about it. It's not A Rod's fault. It's just nature. Got older. His processing speed slowed down. It's normal. Tom Brady is an outlier. He's a freak. It's more normal to slow down and not be as good. And even a 10%, I mean, in the NFL at that level, at that speed, the slightest little disadvantage, that's why players fall off a cliff so quickly. Because that slight little decline makes such a difference at that level. And we're seeing it. We're seeing it with Rodgers. And I know people want to live in denial and they don't want to see it. And they're saying you're wrong and it's not his fault. I'm sorry that you can't see it. I'm not insulting him. Even in his worst year, even with him falling off a hill, even with him washed, he's still better than almost every quarterback we ever had. I'm not denying that. I'm just saying there's no future with him. There's no purpose. It brings nothing to this organization to have him play for us next year. Nothing. We're not winning a Super Bowl, right? It's not going to happen. So it does nothing. We have to start over and rebuild. We have no choice. Now, it doesn't have to be a complete rebuild. Like I said, like we're not cleaning the slate clean with nothing. The offensive line, three or four fifths of the offensive line could be set for years to come. That's a good thing. Quinnen is around for a while. Garrett Wilson's around for a while. Our running backs are around for a while. We have some things. Will McDonald's around for a while. We have some things. You want to trade Sauce, Jersey Jet? You hate his guts? He still has some trade value. We can get picks for him. You want to keep him? Hope that a new coach could turn him back around? You go that direction. Whatever you want to do. But he's an asset. He's definitely still an asset. Maybe he can't get two number ones. He'll get you a number one and a second. Like, he'll get you something if you really have given up on him, or you think maybe it's just, he needs a new start, or he's going to want too much money that we're going to want to pay him anyway. Or maybe he's not going to want to stay. Maybe he hates us. Maybe he hates the Jet fans because we're so toxic. I mean, what's so interesting and ironic is that all Salah talked about was how we handle adversity, and that Ulbrich said it again in his press conference after the game. It's about handling adversity. How could you say that? We know the answer. This team did not handle adversity. We crumbled under adversity. And I think we could all agree on that. What's the chances you get a coach that sticks with the 3 to 4? Every time we change coaches, that changes. I think we have a real problem if we switch to a 3-4. And that's a personnel problem. I think Will McDonald could stand up. I think you could stand Will McDonald up, and he could play edge from outside linebacker position and be a pass rush specialist. I do. I think he's got the athleticism and the growth to stop for running plays. I think he definitely could be that guy. So I don't think that that's a problem. The biggest problem is Quinnen Williams. Quinnen Williams does not. It's just he's not built to play in a 3-4. It's not going to work. He's not a nose tackle. Right, I thought he could play on either side of the nose tackle, but apparently I'm being told no. That's not right for him. You got to be more of a fat, the fat big guy run stuffer type of guy. So Your last jersey you bought was a Gardner 1. I have a Gardner 1 2 jersey, Jack. I already decided I'm not buying a jersey for another 5, 6 years. When they make the playoffs and there's a superstar that gets them to the playoffs, I'll buy their jersey. Like I'm only gonna buy the jersey of a Jet who's already like my Wayne Corbett jersey. I'm only gonna buy a jersey of a Jet who's done something for us. So even if they get traded or whatever, I could still proudly wear their jersey because they did something for us. Like I'm done. I bought a Brees Hall jersey, stupid. I bought a Sauce Gardner jersey, stupid. I bought a like every freaking jersey I buy, it's stupid. Blows up in my face. I'm done. Done with the jerseys. Maybe it's my fault. Maybe I'm the jinx. So you know what I mean? So I'm done with that. You should have got JJ. I got JJ. I'm not so thrilled about it. I don't know if he's ever gonna come back or be good. Jeremy, when are you coming to the cookout? Dude, I'm going to be in D.C. I don't know how far you are from D.C., Johnny boy. The problem is I'm flying in there for like 3 or 4 days, and I'm not going to have a car or anything like that. But like the closest I'm going to be to you is D.C. But one day, if I ever drive from North Carolina to D.C., which I have sometimes done, I definitely will hook up with you. I promise. Finally broke after years of bought a Gardner jersey from the stadium. Oh, you brought one from the stadium? Ugh. What's his face bought one, I think. Wyatt. This guy from, like, Oklahoma or something. Like a green beans guy. He's a kid. He's like 21 or whatever, 22. He's a Marine. And he bought a Sauce Gardner jersey this year. Ouch. Like, in the Denver game. Ouch. That sucks. What do you got? I got any... When is the Jets draft party? Hopefully the Jets. Well, I could tell you one thing: the Jets draft party is going to be on the first day of the draft on Thursday, whenever the draft is, someday in late May on a Thursday. Oh, thanks for joining, Jersey. That's cool. Thank you for joining and becoming a member. So that would be when the party is. I think there's going to be one because I think I mentioned it to Green Bean and to Ryan, and Green Bean said, "How could we not have a draft party? It's the only good day to be a Jet fan. Like it's always the best day of the year for us." So I think that we're gonna. Is it the same place? I hope not. I personally don't think it should be in Long Island. I think that was way too exclusive. And I'm going to tell them that. I think they're doing us a big disservice. I think our draft party should be either near the stadium in New Jersey, because everyone finds a way to get near the stadium, or it should be in Manhattan, like in the city. But it should not be in Long Island. And I'm sorry to the people from Long Island that I say that. It's just not. It just doesn't make sense. It's the hardest place to get to. If you live in Brooklyn, you want it to be in Manhattan. You know, and if you live in Brooklyn, Long Island might be closer, but the MetLife isn't that much worse. So I think it should be in Manhattan. I think that if we do a draft party, we should find a place. We just need to get a lot of people committed, like a deposit or something. That's the problem, because the place in the city, it'll be affordable because they want customers on a Thursday night. There's plenty of places, even in Manhattan, they're going to want us to fill their bar that might not normally be full. But you're still going to have to give them a guaranteed amount of people and we're going to need deposits. And it's a lot to ask Ryan and Greenbean and Matt to like risk all that money. So it's just going to be about organization. So if you're in Jersey, you don't mind Manhattan, and you shouldn't, right? You shouldn't mind it, because I went to the last event. I went to the get together that they had, and it was Nick Shine and I and a bunch of us jumped on the train. We were in Jersey, jumped on a train from one of the towns, and train took us right into 34th Street. And then later on, we went home. It was easy. So, yeah, I don't think there should be an issue. Anyway, guys, I got to wrap it up. I haven't even eaten yet. I've been on much longer than I had planned to be on. Sorry if I got heated there, but I get emotional. I get passionate. It's just who I am. So I'm going to say later. Thanks for joining. Thanks for watching. Sorry I don't do videos as much anymore. I'm real busy these days. So I'm just going to try to do this, I guess, for now on. I'm going to try to do a lot of this. If I don't have time to videos, I'm just gonna randomly go live and talk to you like this. And I got to figure out a way I could read questions without showing you my forehead, so I can answer questions. So I'll try to figure all that out. But Twisted, Jersey Jet, Holy King, Wild Wave. I'm sorry for anybody else I'm forgetting to say. Johnny Boy, Danny, all you guys. Take care, man. Thanks for watching. Thanks for being here. Yeah, man. If you guys keep watching, I'll keep doing it. So everybody take care.